Porter Larson of ESPN 700 back here with me. And we talked about two guys that Utah has to keep, in my opinion, Bird Ficklen, Devin Dampier. I'm incredibly excited about the future. One of the biggest reasons I'm excited about their future, how good they looked in Jason Beck's offense. I don't know what we had expectations for what we wanted Jason Beck's offense to be. I mean, the fact that a Utah offense, and this quickly, by the way, like it's easy to forget how bad the offense was last year. 40th in 40 points per game, which is 6th in the country, the best P4 rush offense, 66 touchdowns. Do you know what the improvement, Porter, was rushing touchdowns this year from last year?
Ooh, I'm trying to think off the top of my head what the number was last year, but
it's hard to fathom how bad it was.
They doubled it or more, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they doubled. It was 37 this year, 7 last year.
Wow.
That's what Elite Four this offense made. Jason Beck did a great job. Yes, there's still work to be done in the pass game, right? But not all that's on Beck. That's on the players as well to grow and get better there. This is a top 10 offense. Like, you're nitpicking if you're saying anything negative about it. I love what Jason Beck brought to the up on the hill, and he needs to be back with this team. And thankfully, like you kind of mentioned, there was some coaching movement, or especially early. Maybe we're a little scared about losing him. I'm starting to feel better about him staying with Utah, and not that he was ever looking to go. As you just said, this is college football. Things can turn quickly. I love what Beck did, and I can't wait to see him get to continue to build on what was a incredible first year.
Yeah, and the only reason I really mentioned Jason when the coaching conversation comes up is because, well, it's his alma mater that's dealing with this. He's the guy who played quarterback at BYU. So when those conversations happen, you just an antenna goes up, because that domino had Kalani Sitake taking that job to Penn State, which, if we want to get into it, that was a power play. I don't think he was leaving to Penn State.
You don't think so?
Well, listen, I think that it probably got closer than many thought because of how big the numbers Penn State can give you are, and how different that could have made the lives of people around Kalani Sitake. I don't think he wanted to ever necessarily make that move, but it became big enough that it was a possibility. I'll say that. That being said, I talked about this on air before the news became official. Kalani had a front row seat to, in 2010, Kyle Whittingham courting, and really Tennessee courting Kyle Whittingham. That was an SEC behemoth who, and I can tell you, I know this hasn't been really reported out, Kyle was being offered more than $4 million in total by Tennessee. That wasn't like maybe that was on the table. They were ready to give him that money. And at the time, JT, that would have matched Urban Meyer, and it would have trailed only Bob Stoops and Nick Saban, I believe. So Kyle used that to go back to Chris Hill, to go back to the folks at the University of Utah and say, hey, we're about to jump into the Pac-12. I'm going to need, not only for me, but for my staff, for my players, our facilities, a little bit more promises. And he got it. And he got it because of the pressure from a team in the SEC. And Kalani kind of played that same card, I think, with the folks at Penn State. Not saying he was operating out of bad faith. That's just the game we play. Your agents play those cards. They go through your options in your career, and you better your own position. And I believe Kalani did that. And in doing so, it stops any sort of domino effect that would have left openings at BYU and potentially elsewhere. That's the only reason I bring it up.
Yeah, no, it's fact. And it's one of the things that's actually unfortunate about this whole Penn State kerfuffle, which is funny because you're wearing a Virginia Tech hat right now, because this is all happening because of the whole James Franklin. Now he's at Virginia Tech. And because of this too, we've heard their NIL is going to increase as well, BYU. So that'll be interesting to see for Utah, how they continue to try and combat that. If the Cougars are continuing to invest in the NIL and everything that just goes on in college football when it comes to trying to build a roster. That's where Utah will have to step up. One guy they're going to definitely have to step up in order to keep, I think, is Wayshawn Parker. Wayshawn Parker is a guy who loves Utah. I think wants to be at Utah, but as we were just talking about, like, these things can happen in the transfer portal where you will see a guy enter the portal, even though he had a really good season, he's happy where he's at. Like, to me, Wayshawn, there's going to be a lot of people that want Wayshawn Parker on their team. He was second in college football in yards per carry this past season. He broke out among backs who had a certain number of carries, obviously, but he was incredible down the stretch. I loved what he provided. I think if he was used a little more early on, he easily goes over 1,000 yards on the season too, Porter, and he was only a sophomore. Like, I think he's going to have an outstanding junior year, and that's another guy to me that Utah has to do everything they can to keep, because I think he's a pretty transcendent talent.
And Wayshawn's exciting because he's kind of just getting it. right? He's kind of just scraping the surface of, I think, the kind of running back he can be. He came into this season, Kyle, gave him a little grief because he wasn't quite up to shape. He then fumbled the ball a little bit to start the year. So there was a reason his carries weren't as numerous as they were later in the year. But man, you really saw him come on later in the year, and you saw the type of running back he can be. Now, the next step, JT, is, can he take a step? Because we saw the talent he is on the field, but I want to take a step back. If you remember Zach Moss, he had a freshman year, a sophomore year that was really good. Both years he, carried the ball a lot, was really productive. But after his sophomore year, Zach realized, NFL scouts realized, people in Salt Lake City realized, oh, this guy isn't just like, exciting Pac-12 weapon. No, this is the real deal, right? And Zach took a step that offseason with his body, with his approach to the game, with his pregame routine. Like, everything just became more intentful, more professional, if you will. Like, he took that step. I want to see that from Wayshawn. He's having a lot of fun. He's a really good back. He's explosive. Like, take that next step, though, because right now you're a really good college football player. If you can recognize your ceiling, Wayshawn could be playing on Sundays. Not there yet, though. He has to take that step, and I'm talking physically, and I'm talking a little bit mentally, and with some of that maturation stuff. But he's well on his way, man. He's only a sophomore, so I'm not coming down on him saying these things. I'm just saying it's the natural progression of a college football running back. And if Utah can keep a hold of him, I think he could be one of the next in line. I don't know that he's a mid-rounder like a Zach Moss or a Devontae Booker, but I think he could be a late-round draft pick. I think he's that good.
I think he is too. I think he could absolutely be an NFL guy. And like you said, like, he is only sophomore. So, like, it's not his time yet. I don't think either of us, like we're just talking about right now, like, he's not there yet, but he could be. And that's what's really exciting. Utah ground game in a great place. Obviously, passing game still trying to catch up there. Utah, I talked about on my show earlier this week. They obviously need to go out and find a true tight end. We like what JJ Buchanan does, but he's almost a receiver at this point now. So talk about the receiver position for Utah. Look, Ryan Davis will move on as he graduates. I like what Creed Whittemore did, so I'm excited for more of him next season. I think Larry Simmons came on strong at the end. Obviously, the Tobias Merriweather experiment didn't work out this season. I still think there's a chance he could be something for this team moving forward, but this feels like a position Utah needs to add some in the portal. They will get Darren Zipper back from the injury that he missed. Smith Snowden told me at Big 12 Media Days he thought Zipper was going to have a big year, so that was a loss for this Utah passing offense. I think we both expect Utah to add some wide receivers there, but what do you think of the talent that as of right now should be returning to that room?
Well, you saw in the last few weeks of the year that you probably want to bring Larry Simmons back.
Yes.
That's a kid who it took a minute for him to kind of learn the offense and to settle in, but he showed his value late in the year. Really good ball skills, really good on the sideline, really good route runner. So you'd like to see him back. You mentioned Creed Whittemore. Tobias Merriweather is a guy who I just kept waiting for him to break out. The guy is, he's able to get open. He's a big body, but dude, if you're a receiver, you got one job outside of blocking, and that's catching the damn ball, right? So he's got some work to do in that regard. And we'll see if he can come back next year. But, Utah's got some guys they like in that room. Rayshawn Glover, one of them. Monica Carvalho, who, of course, we saw in the punt return as a special teams weapon who you might see used in those roles a little bit more. But they're going to have to hit the portal. You mentioned JJ Buchanan. He's listed as a tight end, but I told you before kickoff this year, you might not see him with his hand in the ground for a single snap. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, you did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, if you go back to our preseason, I told you JJ probably won't have his hand in the dirt all year. I don't know that he did.
I don't think so. No.
So that's one of your receivers if you want to organize it that way. Outside of that, though, Utah's going to have to hit the portal. There's no doubt there.
They absolutely will. And like, even for the traditional tight ends, like, everyone else is like a freshman or a sophomore. Like, so it's like, okay, that's a big, they did a great job developing a Dallin Bentley, and they'll need to find an impact guy there for sure. This episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, and every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines you can adjust to instantly. Player prop updates as the games heat up. You can bet your next touchdown score, drive results, totals, and more. There's so much action on FanDuel, whether it's the NFL, whether it's the NBA, college football still rolling on, college basketball, FanDuel has you covered. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you with FanDuel.